Well, we're less than a year away from the 2026 World Cup. Steven Caldwell, our soccer analyst, back to talk to us about his predictions for the 26-man roster and the starting 11, and we're making him do it every single week because we just love to punish him that way. Steven, before we get to the roster and the latest news about the roster, it's been about a week since Canada lost that disappointing quarterfinal matchup to Guatemala at the Gold Cup. You've had a little time to reflect on it. Just how disappointing in your mind was it, or did we overreact in the moment? There was so much optimism about the team going into the tournament. Maybe that's why it was so tremendously disappointing.
Yeah, I think more disappointing, Jay, when we reflect on it, that Canada had performed so poorly against Guatemala, a team 106th in the world. They really should have won that match. They should have found a way to get through. And we can talk about all the incidents that came in the game, particularly Schaffelberg's red card. But ultimately, when you look at the quality of Canada over Guatemala, they should have had enough to come through that and set up a semi-final against the US. So more disappointing for me, more concerning, and sort of at a point now where I just wonder if Canada have what it takes to win a game that really matters. And when we put that into perspective and we think about what that means next summer, when every game matters, I'm kind of concerned about Canada's ability to come out the group strongly.
It's so unfortunate because we were thinking this is going to be a beautiful tee-up to the World Cup, and instead it's just filled us with more questions about the squad. Now, I want to get into the race for the roster. Today, we debut the form tracker, and I'm going to tell you what that is in just a second. But first, we reignite a key battle in the starting 11. Ishmael Kone dropped from the starting lineup to the bench. Nico Seeger, and you've been talking about this, Steven. He's really been impressing you. He takes his spot alongside Stefan Eustachio, moving to midfield from right back after a strong Gold Cup. So let's check out this week's headlines and see if there's any new changes to make. And this is the big one. Jonathan David got his big move, signing with Juventus on a free transfer. He's expected to play a key role for the Italian Giants as they look to improve on a disappointing fourth-place finish in Serie A last season. Plenty of Canadians returned to action this past weekend following the Gold Cup. Tani Oluwaseyi and Dane St. Clair both got the start for Minnesota. St. Clair made 4 saves and win over Dallas. And how about Max Crépeau getting the start in his return for the Portland Timbers? Made 3 saves for the win. He's now made 7 straight league starts when available for the Timbers after just 1 start over the first 3 months of the season. And that brings us to the debut of the form tracker, where we, as the name suggests, track the form of Canadian players all season. Dane St. Clair is still the best in form in goal, but Max Crépeau closing the gap, both well ahead of the rest of the field. So, Steven, the keeper battle looked like it was Dane's to lose before the Gold Cup. Now we've got a few questions. Crépeau has reestablished himself certainly as Portland's #1 keeper. Is he a little bit closer to making St. Clair's hold on that #1 Canadian keeper job?
I think he is closer, Jay. I think he's closed the gap. 2 reasons for that. Obviously, he's back in the side at Portland. He's starting to show some form again. And the fact that Dane St. Clair was a little bit shaky at the Gold Cup. There were some games where maybe his calmness and his mentality came into question, and his ability to make big plays, big saves at important times. So I've still got him in the #1 position. I still feel that in Jesse Marsh's eyes, he's ahead of Max Crépeau, but I think the gap that was starting to stretch between these two has just came closer again. And this is the ultimate battle, because you and I are going to be here every week, and I think this is going to come up more often than not, that the battle between these guys. This, to me, is probably the key battle, and I don't think it's going to be decided till weeks before the first game, maybe even days before the first game, in terms of who starts that first match for Canada and Jesse Marsh.
We know if he's informed, Jonathan David will absolutely be starting in your starting 11, and he officially signed with Juventus this past week. What do you make of this decision ultimately? I assume you're happy for him, but more importantly, do you think this is the right move for Jonathan David in his career?
Well, I'm happy for him, and I'm pleased that he's found a place to go. I'm pleased that he's found a top-level club in Juventus who are not at their strongest at this moment. I have to, clarify that, and we have to look at that. But I'm a little bit underwhelmed that he chose Juventus, and maybe my English Premier League bias has come to this. There's probably going to be a lot of Italians that are saying, you're ridiculous, Juventus is a great club. I understand how great a club Juventus is, and when they come calling, it's very difficult to say no. But I think the level of play in Serie A is below La Liga, it's below Bundesliga, and it's below English Premier League. So I sort of wanted them to go to a club in one of the A-leagues and hopefully a bigger club in one of the A-leagues.
Right.
But I think when everything boiled down, what he wanted was, to be the star, to be a certain starter, and to also play European football, play Champions League football. So I get that, and I sort of understand why he's made that choice. And if he goes to Juventus and he fires them to the Serie A title and he wins the top scorer in Serie A next season, he scores 25 goals, he gets them quarter-final, semi-final of the Champions League, he's going to be one of the hottest strikers, again, not to say he's going to leave Juventus, but one of the hottest strikers, again, in European football, and he'll take his game to the next level. So I understand it, but I was a little underwhelmed.
It's interesting because you make me think, like, if I think of Ligue 1, and then you're essentially saying he's just taking one more step up.
Yeah.
If you feel like Serie A is below those other three leagues, Bundesliga, La Liga, and EPL.
I do.
So it's not enough of a step in your mind.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him challenge himself at a bigger club in a bigger league to have that start and then to establish himself in that team than choose Juventus, no disrespect, to finish fourth in Serie A in a league that I think the overall standard is a little bit below the leagues that I mentioned.
Okay. We will keep an eye on David's progress. And now we will take a look at Steven's starting 11. The roster remains the same. St. Clair still starting at the keeper position. No major headlines from the wider squad. The boys on the bubble stay the same as well. Key players to watch this week. Jaden Nelson and the Whitecaps looking to book their ticket to the Canadian Championship semifinals Wednesday. What a season for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Unbelievable, Steve.
Brilliant. Great to watch.
Richie Larea could make his first start for TFC since March. Reds are taking on Atlanta. That's live on TSN Saturday. Also Saturday, Jacob Schaffelberg and Nashville take on Messi and Inter Miami. Tough Gold Cup for Schaffelberg, obviously. But is it just a blip in your mind, or can you see him bouncing back in a big way for this team?
I can see him bouncing back. I think he has the personality to do so. He's a great guy, Jacob Schaffelberg. He's a hard-working guy. He's got a great attitude. He's a player's player. Players love Jacob Schaffelberg. Coaches love Jacob Schaffelberg because he's such a great fella. So he made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, and he's got to get back on track. And I think the best way that Schaffelberg can get back on track is by being himself and doing what he does best, bouncing up for challenges, going again and again and again, and overpowering fullbacks. And I think in some ways he got a little bit too heated during Gold Cup. He was starting to feel like he was being victimised a little bit, and I think that created this negative effect on him and sort of brought this aggression to his game that I didn't think suited his style of play. So I hope he loses that. I hope he gets back on track. It starts at club level, and I'm certain we'll see him perform again at a high level in the Red of Canada.
Awesome. So that's it for this week's Race for the Roster. Join us next Monday as we see if someone can challenge Steven's starting 11 for the World Cup in 2026.